Hello, you lovely listeners. I'm Amy. Welcome to the Really Good Conversations podcast, where we will delve into the minds of the business people we have met in the process of launching our first card game. We will be uncovering their secrets to success, their biggest mistakes, and sharing the key lessons they have picked up en route. So, if you're looking for an engaging chinwag mixed with business insights and a good pinch of fun, you're in the right place. Let's have a really good conversation. Welcome to the Really Good Conversations podcast. Today I am joined by Oksana Koriakova, marketing maverick, speaker and founder of Impero. Originally from Russia, Oksana has spent more than 20 years in Australia, helping brands become more memorable and helping people show up more confidently in business. She's passionate about human connection, branding and marketing that actually makes people feel something. Welcome to the podcast, Oksana.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for invitation.
As I mentioned, you've been in Australia over 20 years. Can you tell us a bit more about what brought you here from Russia? Was there a particular conversation or moment in time that prompted that move?
It's interesting how in life we have these sliding moments, and we think this one conversation doesn't really matter, but the life changes because of one conversation quite often, right? And I think a lot of people who are in Australia, they didn't have a plan to stay here and live here, and maybe even same with you, Amy, and your family. And yes, I did have this conversation, obviously, where Russia became open country after 89 and the collapse of the communist systems that we were building. And this was an opportunity, first time for us to travel. And my goal was to learn English. And I did have a conversation and coffee with someone in Moscow. And they suggest that, it's going to be winter. Why don't you just go for summer to Australia for 6 months? And I thought, yeah, sounds like a good idea. Why don't I? And this is how I arrived to Australia with one suitcase. I didn't speak any English, I didn't know anyone. And this was my 6 months, that one little conversation that changed completely direction of my life, I guess.
Wow, that is amazing. And, it takes real courage to obviously move countries to a country where you don't speak the language. When you came over back then, there wasn't the WhatsApp and the technology communication tools that we have now. So I have a lot of, admiration, because that really would have been going completely the other side of the world with little connection and communication back home.
Yeah, but it's forced you, like I always say, how do you shut up a talkative person? This is the only way to shut them up, to send them to the country that they don't speak the language, right? And it gives you the opportunity to actually listen and absorb because you can't speak, right? And it's an interesting journey. It is a challenging journey, but with everything in life, our growth and our wisdom comes from the challenges. If everything was nice and smooth and we never have any problem, we have no challenges, we would just become lazy, unmotivated humans, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you were first arriving in Australia, what helped build your confidence in those early years? So you've just mentioned that you perhaps have to listen, you can't really talk to people, but that must have felt very isolating. So how did you overcome that?
I think I was just making a good decision. Like, I knew it's going to be hard, and it was hard. I never say, oh my God, I was walking the park, because I came from the small city. It's under 1 million people, and I almost knew everyone there. So not having a connection, and we met, and you know how important the human connections for me is. I was kind of fish taking out of water. But for me, because it was such a huge investment for me to be here financially and emotionally, I knew this was my project, and I knew that I just need to give myself time. And this 6 months of discomfort and struggle and cry and all the difficulties, I knew that it will get better, and it did get better. But we just have to, we don't want to sit in discomfort, right? Because it's the brain and the mind, they want to get out of the difficult situation. They want to find the comfort. But I guess I'm grateful for my discipline that I grew up with in a communist country. So we kind of have the gene of sacrificing and toughen it up, like life is tough, get a helmet, kind of scenario.
So, Oksana, take us back. How does one, arrive in Australia and then you went into a life of brand merchandise? What was a sort of top line journey when you got here?
So it was a 6 months. Visa was for 6 months. So I went to school, and then I was celebrating it was my bon voyage party, and I was ready to leave. And then I met the girl again. One little conversation got me to Australia, and one little conversation made me stay in Australia. She said, "Oh, why are you leaving? Why don't you apply for residency?" I'm like, "Oh." And she said, "And I can introduce you to someone who can help." Again, who? She introduced me to an immigration agent, and I thought, okay, sounds like a good idea. Why don't I? I know what's in Russia. I born in Russia, I grew up in Russia. I've finished school there and uni. And year and a half later, I got my residency. And when I got the residency, because I'm unemployable, the only logical thing to do was to start the business. So I started the hamper company. Originally was called Gifts on the Run. And I was on the run, and it was a lot of gifts. And I loved it. I did calligraphy course, and the business became very successful, but it grew so fast and took all my freedom away. And freedom is my number one value. And I did not want to have great business and a lot of money and no freedom. So I rebranded and I started the merch company, because with merch it's a different game. And this is how I got to, and now it's been 22 years since I launched Impero, and now I'm reinventing myself as well. Now I'm separating Impero from myself, and I'm launching Oksana. Oksana is, as a speaker, Oksana is a mentor. It's kind of next step in the evolution of business.
That's a fantastic journey. That is brilliant to hear. I genuinely find people's journeys interesting. And I think even more so when moving countries or speaking in other languages, etc. You're always interested to know what those stepping stones have been along the way. And we'll talk a little bit about, branding and business, because that is a huge part of your world and has been a part of your journey. And obviously with Impero, you have the merchandise branding business. So for you, what does branding mean beyond just logos and color palettes in your world?
The brand for me, it's trust and it's consistency that we deliver. And this is what helps people that you serve to make a decision, right? So if you're the small business owner, you start with yourself. You are the brand. It doesn't matter what business you're in. Everything you say, everything you do, every email you send, every meeting you have, every time you show up, you're building the brand. They put in the tick in their mind. Can I trust them? Are they consistent? Do I like them? Are we on the same page? And this is so then when they ready to buy, I go to this person because they have a brand. And if you don't have consistency, like you take people on a roller coaster ride, it's not a good journey. I think And I also focus on the feeling, the famous saying, people forget what you did, people forget what you said, but people never forget how you make them feel.
Yeah.
So if we focus before anything, we say, when people come to me and when they leave, how do I want them to feel? And if you just focus on that, then you create your processes and your customer experience around that, because it doesn't matter if you're serving coffee or you're building a website or you do the car wash. It's irrelevant, right? People
Yeah.
people come to people and come back to people because they make them feel certain way. Brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Absolutely. What do you think people get wrong or they overlook when they come to building their brand?
I think they have an idea, and for me, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Gallup's strength profile. My number one skill is strategic.
Mm.
So even when I sell merch, I never start with a product. We got 20,000 product. Product is irrelevant. I discover design thinking, I think 15 years ago.
Mm.
It's a revolutionary approach where you don't create the product. You don't go and say it's a great idea, you just start making it. You actually go and talk to the customer and you collect data and you see if this actually product have a place on the market, because a lot of time you fall in love with the product and you think great and you go invest the
Mm.
money, build the website and create the product, and then suddenly you go, nobody's buying it. And I will say, but why did you create it in the first place? Where
Mm.
was your research? It's also like, I understand a lot of people go to the business because we've been sold the concept of freedom and everyone should have a business. I don't agree with that. I think business is not for everyone.
Mm.
It's for some people, they're just best as employee. And this is, I think, statistically the data. They say if you have data, let's look at data. If you only have opinions, let's go with mine. And this is the reason I think statistically so many businesses fail in the first 2 years, because they did not do the research, they did not test, they did not create the prototype, they did not talk to the customer, they just went and invest all the money. But you need sales, before you do anything.
Yeah.
Who is the customer? You don't need money, you need customers.
Absolutely. And it is, yes, certainly the roller coaster having your own business. So I think we can definitely agree on that. You talk a lot about how to bring wow to your marketing. What does wow mean to you? And what do you think is one small change a business owner could make to bring more wow in their brand if they're not already?
I think wow, it's what's make people talk about you. Because nobody talks about boring films, nobody talks about
Mm.
boring parties that they went to, nobody talks about boring branding. And obviously, I think in 1970s we had 500 messages, advertising messages coming at us every day. Now the number is, I think, 5,000. So if this is the amount, and we all can relate because we are all the customers at the same time of something else. And if you think how many advertising campaigns, how many brands you see every day, how often, how many services you experience, from buying the coffee in
Mm.
the morning to picking up your kids in the afternoon, enrolling them for the childcare or school, or making decision what to buy online for your next party. How often that something happen that you go, oh my god, this was amazing, and you want to go and tell your girlfriend and tell your friend and tell
Mm.
your husband and tell your neighbors? Not often. So this trigger of people want to talk about, this is in my world, this is the wow.
Yeah. Love it. And when you deliver that keynote talk, you wear a wedding dress, don't you? So where does the wedding dress come from for when you're presenting?
The topic of this keynote, it's how to bring wow to your marketing. and
Mm.
and yes, I do dress as a bride and wear the veil and have the red flowers and enter the room with the wedding walls. I also love fun and I love humor, and I think we just get so serious in business. I think David Ogilvy said you cannot bore people into buying your product. I think if we just lighten up a bit and be more human and be more fun and be more approachable and write emails with a little bit of smiley, like how they, like when you write it, how they're going to make them feel. So the reason I dress up as a bride, because I compare marketing, it's like falling in love. So it's only 3 stages. So firstly, you need to know who is the audience, right? Like, who are you going to marry?
Yeah.
What kind of person? Who are you going to sell this service? Who is the customer, right? You start with who, because then when what language do they speak? This would be helpful, right? If you're international, you think, oh, our people don't speak English, so you have to be very clear who. The second step is when you know who, then you go, okay, how are we going to get them to go on a date with us? How are we get them to notice us? How are we going to send the proposal? Where we're going to take them? All this little how.
Yeah.
But the third step is when we got engaged and we got married and we have this so much fun at the wedding and we invite all the guests and it was so fun. How are we going to keep it? How we're going to keep this relationship going? Because I deliver it in such a way that everyone can relate. Everyone been to the wedding. Everyone know how it's so personalized. You're not putting Facebook advertising, inviting people come to your wedding, because nobody will come. But you do a list. So do you have a list in your business? How do you approach every guest differently? What do you do after? How even at the wedding, we think how we're going to sit them strategically, right? So I actually say to the audience, imagine if you're going to plan your next campaign and you don't look at it as your marketing campaign. You're going to look at it as I am planning the wedding.
Yeah.
Everything changes when you do that.
Absolutely. And I've got to say, mine and Alex's wedding was at the start of a pandemic in Bali. So we definitely had a lot of curveballs thrown at us with that wedding.
Yes. And again, this is the learning of things does not always go as you plan. How adaptable are you? What are you gonna, if you only need to cut the list from 150 people, who is the 20 people gonna be? Same in business, right? Who is, if you just sit and goes, who is these people that I should really look after? Because if you're never gonna call your friends and you never put any effort in nurturing relationship, you have no friends.
Yeah. And to build on that there, so moving into more relationships, nurturing, networking and connection is, big part of your world as well. And you have been crowned the networking queen here in Sydney, and equally host events, but also run talks on winning the networking game. Have you always found it easy to connect with people?
This is my superpower. I don't take a credit. I got 5 planets in Libra, and if you are familiar with astrology, it's very rare. And if you're not familiar, Libra, it's all about partnership. It's a partnership. So connecting, talking to strangers, building community. If you invite Libra to the party, the Libra response would be, oh, who else can I invite? It's all about togetherness. And this is kind of, a lot of time, I just do what feels good. And then only later I discover, this is why it feels so good, because it's really my DNA, right? So I encourage people. I do a lot of business mentoring and marketing kind of advisory. You have to discover what is your superpower, right? You can't just go, because this person is doing this, I'm going to do that. Because for some introverts, it's not natural, but they have a other talent, right?
Yeah.
So find what's your talent and just put a dial it up on that or magnify it, because then this is where the joy comes from. Because when I do these events, I'm like, I don't need to put it on. I just show up with the joy, and because it's so authentic, people feel it.
Yeah.
And this is where you can't fake your way to being authentic.
But when you are out there as attending the events or doing the talks, it does require a lot of energy and presence from yourself. Do you get tired of it all ever, or find, at the end of the day, you've got that energy drain? Or
again, it's just, Libra, it's all about balance. So I have an event until 3 o'clock in the morning, and by 4 o'clock I'm barefoot in the ocean, swimming and doing yoga. Or I would switch off my phone for a few days and don't talk to anyone. I think even as an extrovert, it's for for me, I get energized being around people, discussing ideas, being out there. It energizes me, but still, it's sometimes I said I'm not even a good company for myself. So
yeah.
it's finding a balance and finding what works for you. And for some people, if you're introvert, maybe they recharge by being, alone. Some people recharge by being out. Other people recharge by being in the nature. Again, it's like I always say, and I apply it to marketing, find what works for you. It's not such a thing, I have a magic wand, and if you only buy it, I can solve all your problem. And if somebody tried to sell you this magic wand, I'll say, buyers beware.
Yeah. When it comes to the world of networking, what do you think makes a good networking experience for, both sides?
Oh, Victory loves preparation. This is like a wedding. Why weddings are so amazing? How much preparation goes in, right? So if you organize an event, like when I organize, my list to do is very long. I pay attention to every details, right? I have a list of people who is coming. I got a flowers organized. I make sure I talk to chef. I don't leave anything to chance, right? The venue picked very specific. I don't just go, let's just have it in the garage. No. So then when you do that, the people who show up, they can actually see that. They can appreciate it, and they step up as well, with the high tide, all the boats rise. Suddenly they put more effort. And communication, right? Communication in terms of arrive early or tell them to come early. Communicate what's the next step is. If you go into the event, maybe ask event organizers, look, I'm looking to meet these kind of people. Would you be able to introduce me? Because especially if you're shy and you can't just walk in the room and talk to anyone, maybe they can do the introduction. So I think do the preparation and slowing down and be more strategic. It definitely will give you the better outcome than just show up anywhere and hope. You might get lucky, but from my experience, and I've done a lot of networking, like first few years, I think I was at 400 events a year. I was there breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When I used to go, I joke, I said I used to go to opening of an envelope, but but nowadays I only go to the red carpet events, right? Yeah, but it's you have to learn it, right? You have to experiment, and you have to find your tribe. A lot of like energetically, some of the places you walk in, and I left events because I walked in and energetically doesn't feel good. I don't stay. I just leave. I'm like, I don't want to be here.
How do you decipher what's a surface level networking chat versus what could become more of an actual friendship and connection?
Oh, you would know instantly. And it's also it's like with friends. You cannot ask people to be your friend. For me, it's a dance. Same with the customers. People say, but if I'm going to do the LinkedIn reach out, but who do I continue the conversation with? I would say, continue conversation with people who reply to you. Don't harass people and be persistent with people who are not interested. So many. And another thing I say, that your customer will become your friends much faster than your friends become the customer. So you meet someone and you don't even, like, when you meet someone, you don't even know about the business, because statistically only 3% of people ready to buy now. So you're not selling anything for a long time. So it's all about building relationship. Do you have a lot in common? You talk, this is a travel, or you ski, or you like yoga, or you like human design. And then, I don't know, one of my friends, when we met, before she even asked my name, she goes, "Oh my God, I love your purple mascara. What is it?" And it was like instant conversation on a random question. She didn't ask me, "What do you do?" Like, don't start the conversation. So tell me what you do. Like, this is the most boring question you can ask. Like, if somebody asks, here's my card, here's my LinkedIn. If you want to know what I do. And people say to me, "Oh, what do you do?" And my reply often is, "I pay attention." Right? And they go, "Oh, this is interesting. Tell me more." Because, like, what conversation? What do you do? "Oh, I'm an accountant." What do you want to do when somebody says to you, "You want to leave the room," right? Because it's going to be a bore in 95% of the time. It's going to be boring conversation. And because everyone loves talking about what they do, it might be a long conversation. And then you feel awkward because you don't know how to escape it. Like, don't make people wanting to escape. But it takes time to create the emotional intelligence where you say, it has to be the monologue. You can't just go, somebody asks you a question and you just tell them the story from, what's happened in your childhood and how you moved the country and what you're doing now and and you don't even see how is this person feeling about all of these buckets of information that you just delivered or keep delivering, because they simply ask you a question. What do you do? I don't know. Which part do you want to know? Where you from? Oh, what kind of question is that? What do you mean, where I'm from? Country, company, position? Well, right? Suddenly you kind of break the pattern of cookie cutter question, cookie cutter answer. Boring.
Yeah. And well, we can obviously be nodding along here and agree, because ultimately we launch conversation cards to make conversation more interesting and meaningful, whether it is with existing friends or families. And I think we saw in our own world, and, you still do see, you'll catch up with friends or family and it is, "Oh, how you doing?" Or how's your last week been? And And it's like, "Oh, same old." And that's sort of almost end of the conversation, really. And it's not until you ask different questions, you start to then hear interesting or different stories. If you could summarize, what would be some of the biggest networking mistakes you see people make?
Coming up to strangers and telling what they do and pushing the cards without asking, right? Then say, "Look, I actually never give cards until people ask me. My cards are very expensive, so I don't want to give it to people, and I don't want to be, they take a card." And another mistake I think people do: don't chase the numbers, chase the quality. Take less cards. And this is one of my tips that I teach. You have to be responsible. Don't think they got my card, so this is your car, you are the driver. Don't worry about the passengers. Don't worry about what they're doing. Yes, they all have your business cards. Don't worry about them. Just worry about you as a driver. Hi, Amy. Lovely to meet you. I enjoy our conversation. Would love to stay in touch. Maybe we can do the Zoom coffee. La, la, la. So, and do reach out in the next 24 hours. Because if you don't, I can guarantee if you email a week later, people would not know who you are. In most of the cases, right? In most of the cases. So don't let them to forget you. If you do it as soon as possible, like I do it literally, if I meet someone, by the time I get home on the bus, I already emailed them all.
Yeah.
Right? If it's only 3-5 people, you can do it, right? You maybe even create a template saying, hey, like I'm not saying, but make it your priority. And then you go, okay, here's my cards, right? I live in. So what does it mean? Look at them. What is it? What's the next step for this person? How can is it of value? Because it's a reason you took the card. Because if it's no value, stay at home. Don't go to the network. Stop collecting cards and killing trees. This would be my advice.
I love that. Okay, we're going to move into a couple of more general questions now, I guess. What has been the biggest challenge you faced in your business and how have you moved through it?
Oh, biggest challenge. When I started the business, China was only open for us. And then suddenly when it's open, every person now become an expert and they say, oh, I'm going to bring my own stuff and from Alibaba. And people think they don't need experts. You do. You need expert when you have a knee operation. You need expert when you do your dentistry. You need expert when you do anything, marketing included. And obviously, COVID came and killed my business, right? 18 years in business, I wake up and I have no business. But I think Tony Robbins said it's never a lack of resources, it's a lack of resourcefulness. I just have to reinvent myself. And guess what? I use direct mail, and direct mail took me to, becoming a finalist for Australian Marketing Institute Award with the entry. You got mail saying, if you want to cut through the noise and if you want to reach someone, this is what marketing is. Keep the conversation going.
Absolutely.
Send them a mail, 100% opening rate. Inbox is full, mailbox is empty. What a great opportunity to wow your customers and become memorable and to be creative and to have fun.
Absolutely. That's a good right. I mean, you've already gone on to my next question of, is there a piece of advice or a mantra that's guided you both in your life and business?
I don't comply. So I do, if everyone doing something, this is the sign for me, I have to do it opposite. I need to be inspired. I need to create. I need to collaborate and create something that's meaningful, not just create it for sake of it that doesn't benefit. If almonds can become a milk, you can do anything. This is my motto.
Wow, yeah, I love that. Brilliant. Well, on that note, I'm going to ask you our questions from our pack of cards. Question number 1. If money was no object, what one thing would you buy?
I think I would buy like little city. The little city where not many people there, and we can like rebuild the city and give opportunity for people to come and rebuild it and create the community like of the, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm going to be a mayor of the happy town.
Love it.
I'll buy a little city. Yeah. On the water.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you know someone who sells the city, give them my number.
Question number 2, always a favourite, is if you came with a warning label, what would it say?
Put your seatbelt on. It's going to be a fun ride.
Fab. Love it. Question number 3, what is the most proud moment of your life? Because I feel you've had quite a journey and a lot of experiences and a lot of different junctions.
The most proud, I think, when I got the blue passport, when I got a passport, because it's just, this was a level of freedom, because getting the Australian passport, suddenly you can actually go anywhere. And global is my favorite word. Like, you don't need a visa. Like, if you have Russian passport, I think it's like 2 countries you can enter without the visa. For the rest, you have to apply and wait, and maybe you don't get it, and it's cost money. With Australian passport, you can go anywhere, right?
Yeah. And that is amazing. Someone, obviously, I'm British. You often don't realise or acknowledge the differences that other nationalities, like you said, different restrictions and what freedom, a lot of countries that for example, that I'm from, that you take for granted, really.
Yeah. And another thing, I remember when I was at uni, and my father's car was stolen, and he was so upset. And I didn't want him to be upset. And I said, don't worry, Dad, I'll buy you the new car. So I was at uni, and it was summer holiday, and I worked my ass off to make all the money to buy him a car.
Wow.
This was very good that I could.
Yeah, amazing
That
achievement.
you could do it. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And the last question that I like to ask all of our guests is, if you could ask any person, dead or alive, a question, who would it be and what would you ask them?
I would say I would ask Leonardo da Vinci, because I love him, and he's so multi-dimensional and so progressive. So the question I would ask him, how did you learn to trust your ideas before, like, the world could see the reality of that, right? Because he was so ahead of his time, and everything that he created, how did he actually learn to trust and to drive it without giving up, without, before the world could understand even them, right? He was learning, studying the birds so he can create the plane. Like, we're talking 500 years ago, right?
It's crazy to think about it.
Yeah. How do you sell the idea and tell people we're going to have a plane where they never saw anything but a bird, right? How many of what he developed we still have? One person. Revolutionary, definitely revolutionary human being.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for everything you've shared today, Oksana. Where can listeners connect with you or find out more about you?
If we are not connected on LinkedIn, it's a very slim chances, but in case in case we are not connected on LinkedIn, do connect with me on LinkedIn.
I feel like you're a LinkedIn brand ambassador.
Yes. I'm a volunteer for LinkedIn. I love it. If you don't use LinkedIn and you're in business, please use LinkedIn. Please follow me on Instagram. I am Impero by Oksana. And soon my Oksana brand will come alive.
Yeah, I'll include all the links in the show notes as well. Thank you so much for your time today, Oksana. It's been great chatting to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to check out the show notes for more information on today's guests. And if really good conversations are your thing, hit subscribe and join us next time for more business journeys, insights and banter.